Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to really take a deep dive into the PlayStation 5 Pro.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to kind of peel back all the marketing hype, and really get into the core of what makes this console so interesting,
Mm-hmm.
especially for someone like you who's so passionate about mention a relevant interest of the listener based on their provided profile.
Yeah.
We have some incredible source material for this one, too.
Yeah.
We have an interview with two really important players in the development of this.
Right.
Mark Cerny, the lead system architect,
Wow.
and Mike Fitzgerald, who's the core technology director at Insomniac Games.
Oh, wow.
And they're not holding back either.
Yeah.
They're really giving us a glimpse into what's next in gaming tech.
It's really exciting to hear them talk about it so openly, too.
Yeah. And what we're going to focus on in this deep dive are two of the key areas, I think, that are going to really reshape how games look and feel in the years to come, which are ray tracing and machine learning.
Yeah, those are the big ones.
These aren't just buzzwords,
Right.
This is like really substantial technology that's really going to change gaming.
And they're really at the forefront of it.
What really jumped out at me going through this material was that the PS5 Pro isn't just a simple spec bump. It's not just like, oh, here's a faster PS5.
Right.
It's almost like they're giving us this peek behind the curtain of what's going to come in the next generation of consoles,
I see what you mean.
even before everybody else.
Yeah, it's like a sneak peek at the future of gaming.
Yeah. And that's what we're going to unpack in this deep dive.
Awesome.
So first up,
Okay.
PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution.
Wow. That's a mouthful.
I know, right? It's, or PSSR.
PSSR. Okay.
And this is where the machine learning comes in.
Okay.
Basically, it's using algorithms to upscale games to that crisp 4K resolution that everyone wants,
Everyone loves 4K.
But this isn't your grandpa's upscaling,
Right. It's not just stretching the image.
It's not just like blowing it up and making it blurry.
Yeah.
PSSR is way smarter than that.
It really is.
It analyzes the image and it adds detail.
So it's actually making the image better, not just bigger.
Yeah, hold on a sec. How does that even work?
It's kind of wild, right? So they use this technique called machine learning,
Okay.
where the system is basically trained on a huge amount of image data
Oh, wow.
to learn how to intelligently fill in the missing details when it's upscaling.
That's incredible.
It's like having an AI artist working behind the scenes.
So it's not just like guessing what should go there.
Yeah,
It's actually
it's
doing it.
learned. It's learned from a massive data set
Wow.
how to create these details.
That's so cool.
And the results are really impressive.
It's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And what I thought was really cool is that different developers are using it in different ways, too.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Some are going all in on this visual fidelity,
Yeah.
with like ultimate modes.
Right. Pushing it to the limit.
Yeah, that really push the limits of what's possible.
Yeah.
Other developers are giving players more options.
Hmm.
Like,
Oh, that's cool.
do you want higher resolution? Do you want to prioritize frame rate, or do you want like a balance between the two?
I like the choice.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's fascinating to see how developers are approaching it because there's no one right way to use it.
Yeah, and that leads to an interesting question.
What's the...
How do you communicate to players that a game looks better,
Right.
even if the internal resolution might not actually be higher?
Yeah. Because people get hung up on the numbers.
Right, they just see 4K and they think that's the be-all, end-all.
Exactly.
Cerny actually talks about this. He says, maybe we need to change how we talk about resolution.
Interesting.
Maybe we shouldn't even talk about it at all.
So what should we focus on then?
It's not about the numbers.
Okay.
It's about what you see on the screen.
It's about the actual image quality.
The image quality is what matters, and that's where PSSR really shines.
Because it's not just about hitting a specific resolution target.
Exactly.
It's about creating an image that looks amazing and feels immersive.
And here's where it gets even more interesting.
Oh, really? Tell me more.
So PSSR can actually improve the stability and resolve of ray trace reflections.
Oh, wow. So those reflections you see in like puddles and windows and stuff.
Yeah, all those shiny surfaces.
Okay.
Mike Fitzgerald from Insomniac Games gave this great example of this with Ratchet and Clank.
Oh, cool.
He explained that PSSR handles depth information way better than traditional TAA,
Okay, so what is TAA?
which is temporal anti-aliasing.
Right.
It's that technique they use to smooth out jagged edges.
I see.
So basically, PSSR understands what's in front of and behind that reflective surface more accurately.
That makes sense.
So the reflections aren't just sharper, They're also more stable, less prone to those flickering artifacts.
That's a huge improvement.
And this is especially important when you consider how demanding ray tracing is,
Right. It can really hit the performance.
It really can.
But this is it's almost like PSSR is helping to unlock the true potential of ray tracing
It is.
by making it more efficient.
And more effective.
Exactly. It's like they work together.
And it shows how these technologies can work together.
Yeah.
It's not about one replacing the other.
It's about this synergy between them.
Yeah.
To create something truly next level.
So we've kind of established here that the PS5 Pro is doing some seriously impressive things with PSSR.
Yeah. It really is mind-blowing.
But what makes it more than just a faster PS5?
Right. What sets it apart?
Why is this a glimpse into the future of gaming tech?
That's the big question.
According to Mark Cerny, this console is this opportunity for Sony to really gain knowledge about ray tracing and machine learning
Before the next generation.
before they launch that next full generation.
Right, that's smart.
They're using the PS5 Pro to push the boundaries,
Oh, I see.
not just crank up the graphics settings.
Experimenting and learning.
Yeah, and speaking of cranking things up, you might be wondering why the CPU got such a minimal upgrade.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Cerny says that consistent 60 FPS gameplay is the litmus test
Oh,
of a good gaming experience.
interesting.
So instead of trying to push the CPU to the absolute limit, they focused on making sure that games could hit that smooth 60 FPS target.
So it's about consistency rather than just raw power.
Yeah. Is that more important than pushing the absolute limits of graphics?
That's a good question.
Especially now that upscaling tech is getting so good.
Yeah, what do you think?
I don't know. That's a question for you to ponder.
I'd have to think about that.
It gets at the heart of what we value in games,
Right, smooth performance versus amazing visuals.
Do we want buttery smooth performance or do we want those eye-popping visuals?
It's a tough choice.
It is.
And it's one that game developers are going to be wrestling with for years to come, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But Sony isn't just stopping at PSSR. They've also got this thing called Project Amethyst.
Project Amethyst.
Yeah.
This sounds intriguing.
It is. It's a multi-year collaboration between Sony and AMD
Okay.
to develop new architectures for machine learning.
So they're teaming up.
Yeah, and this is huge for gaming because it allows them to create more efficient and powerful machine learning models,
Wow.
specifically designed for games.
Oh, wow. So they're not just taking general machine learning stuff.
No, they're tailoring it to the needs of game developers.
That's really smart.
Cerny even mentioned these things called lightweight CNNs.
CNNs.
Yeah, convolutional neural networks.
Okay.
They're basically specialized AI systems that can run in real time.
Without bogging down the system.
Exactly, without taking up too much processing power.
So they're making machine learning more seamless part of the gaming experience.
That's the goal, and it's going to open up so many possibilities for developers.
This is really game-changing stuff.
It really is, and it's not just about creating libraries for developers to use.
Okay.
It's about developing the fundamental building blocks for future technologies.
Right, so it's more than just here's some tools, go make something.
Exactly. It's about fostering innovation at a deeper level.
I see. And this is where the partnership with AMD becomes so crucial.
Absolutely, because this kind of innovation doesn't happen overnight.
And remember, Cerny even admitted that PSSR was the toughest technical project he's ever worked on.
Yeah, it just highlights the complexity of what Sony's trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And why a partner like AMD is so valuable.
And speaking of pushing boundaries, Cerny made this really interesting statement.
What was that?
He said, well, it's not all going to be rainbows and path tracing. So...
What do you think he meant by that?
I don't know. Do you think, is he hinting that there are limits to how much ray tracing we can expect?
Maybe he's acknowledging that there needs to be a balance between these newer technologies like ray tracing and the traditional graphics techniques that developers are already using.
So it's not about replacing one with the other.
Right. It's about finding the right mix.
But is that always the best approach?
What do you mean?
Are there times when pushing visual fidelity is worth a slight performance hit?
That's an interesting question.
Some gamers might prefer to have the most stunning graphics, even if it means sacrificing a few frames per second.
You're right. It comes down to personal preference.
Yeah.
What do players value most?
And it seems like the PS5 Pro is trying to find that sweet spot, offering enough power to experiment with ray tracing and machine learning.
Without going overboard.
But without completely abandoning those traditional rendering methods.
So striking a balance.
And the conversation between Cerny and Fitzgerald actually highlighted how the extra GPU power in the PS5 Pro can be used to enhance both
Oh, wow.
Ray tracing and machine learning.
So they complement each other.
Yeah, they create this synergistic effect.
That's cool.
They obviously used the Spider-Man 2 patch to illustrate this.
Oh, cool. How so?
The PS5 Pro version takes advantage of that increased GPU power to improve both the visuals.
With ray tracing.
Yeah, they're using ray-traced ambient occlusion.
Nice.
But also the performance.
Smoother frame rates.
Yeah, smoother frame rates, faster loading times.
So it's the best of both worlds.
It really is.
That's impressive.
And it makes me wonder, with ray tracing and machine learning still in their early stages, what unexpected applications might developers discover,
in the next few years on PS5 Pro?
I have a feeling we're just scratching the surface of what's possible.
It's an exciting time to be a gamer, that's for sure.
It is. It's like this playground for developers to really push the limits.
And we get to benefit from their creativity.
Yeah. But speaking of smooth gameplay,
okay,
let's talk about backwards compatibility.
Yeah. How does the PS5 Pro handle games from previous generations?
Because that's something a lot of people are going to care about,
Definitely, especially since the PS5 Pro doesn't have the same kind of GPU setup as the PS4 Pro.
What do you mean?
Well, the PS4 Pro had this unique configuration that some people called a butterfly GPU.
A butterfly GPU?
What is that?
It refers to how the processing units were arranged on the chip itself.
Oh, okay.
And it kind of resembled a butterfly shape.
Interesting.
And while it worked well for the PS4 Pro,
it presented some challenges when it came to backwards compatibility.
I see. So how do they address that with the PS5 Pro?
Well, Cerny explained that they learned a valuable lesson from the PS4 Pro experience.
Okay.
They realized they didn't need to perfectly replicate the timing of the original hardware for games to run smoothly.
So they have a little more flexibility.
Exactly. The timing can drift a bit, and the game will still work fine.
And that's enough?
Yeah, out of thousands of PS4 games, only a handful had issues with the PS4 Pro's approach.
Oh, wow. So it wasn't really a big problem.
Not really. So they didn't need to worry as much about it with the PS5 Pro.
That's good news for anyone who wants to play their old PS4 games.
Right.
But what about those rare cases where timing is super critical?
Like rhythm games.
Yeah. Are there any games that might still have issues?
Well, Fitzgerald actually shared a really interesting story about this.
Oh.
When they were developing Spider-Man 2, they had to make some adjustments to the way water reflections were handled.
Really? Even with all that extra power?
Yeah, to ensure smooth performance.
What did they have to change?
They had to make the water reflections less divergent.
Divergent?
Yeah, it refers to how the rays of light are calculated in ray tracing. If the rays are too spread out, it can put a strain on the hardware.
And slow things down.
Exactly.
So they had to tweak how the reflections were calculated.
So the PS5 Pro could handle them without sacrificing that smooth gameplay.
That's pretty clever.
It is. It shows how developers are adapting to these new technologies and finding ways to get the most out of them.
But it also highlights that even with all this power, there are still challenges.
There are always challenges.
And it sounds like those challenges extend to path tracing, too.
Oh, yeah. Path tracing. That's even more advanced than ray tracing.
Yeah, it simulates light in this truly realistic way.
It's amazing, but also very demanding.
Did Cerny have anything to say about that?
He admitted that path tracing would be very tricky to implement on the PS5 Pro, given its current hardware.
So no path tracing.
Well, he didn't rule it out completely.
Oh, there's hope.
He said he wouldn't put it past the developers to find creative solutions.
Knowing game developers.
Yeah, they're incredibly talented.
They'll find a way.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see some form of path tracing on PS5 Pro in the future.
It's amazing to think how far gaming technology has come.
It really is.
And it's clear that this is just the beginning.
We're just at the tip of the iceberg.
So as we start to wrap up our deep dive into the PS5 Pro, what are the key takeaways here?
I think the biggest takeaway is that this console is much more than just a mid-generation refresh. It's a statement about the future of gaming.
A bold statement.
Yeah, and it's a testament to the power of collaboration and innovation.
We've seen how PSSR is revolutionizing upscaling, how machine learning is becoming more and more integrated into game development.
Right.
How Sony is partnering with AMD to push the boundaries of what's possible.
It's really exciting to see.
And it sounds like the PS5 Pro isn't just about 4K and better frame rates.
It's about something bigger.
It's about creating more immersive, more engaging, and more realistic game worlds.
And empowering developers to bring their visions to life.
Yeah, in ways we never thought possible.
The PS5 Pro is blurring the line between reality and imagination.
It really is.
And that's incredibly exciting.
It is. But before we sign off, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought.
Oh, like that.
Considering how challenging PSSR was to develop and how it's already exceeding expectations, what breakthroughs in gaming visuals might we see in the next 5-10 years?
As machine learning matures?
Yeah. What do you think?
That's a fantastic question. It's almost impossible to predict with certainty.
Yeah.
But if we look at the trajectory of this technology, the possibilities are mind-boggling.
We could see games that are virtually indistinguishable from reality.
Or games that can adapt to our emotions and preferences in real time.
Imagine a world where games could generate entire worlds on the fly.
Tailored specifically to you.
Oh, wow.
The line between player and game could become even more blurred.
We might interact with game characters as if they were real people.
And experience stories that are uniquely crafted just for us.
That would be amazing.
It's a future overflowing with potential.
And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the PS5 Pro.
I hope you enjoyed it.
I know I did. And as always, you can find links to all the source material
in the show notes.
So go forth and dive deeper into the world of the PS5 Pro.
Happy gaming.
We'll see you next time on the deep dive.
See ya. Yeah, a lot of people are going to want to know about that.
Exactly. Especially since the PS5 Pro doesn't have that same kind of GPU setup as the PS4 Pro.
Right. The PS4 Pro had that unique configuration that some people called the butterfly GPU.
A butterfly GPU? What is that?
It refers to how the processing units were arranged on the chip.
Oh, okay.
And it kind of resembled a butterfly shape.
Interesting.
And while it worked well for the PS4 Pro, it kind of presented some challenges for backwards compatibility.
So how did they address that with the PS5 Pro?
Cerny explained that they learned a valuable lesson from the PS4 Pro.
Okay.
They realized that they didn't need to perfectly replicate the timing of the original hardware.
Oh, really?
For games to run smoothly.
So they have more flexibility with the PS5 Pro.
Yeah. The timing can drift a little bit, and the game will still work fine.
Interesting. And that's enough.
Yeah. Out of thousands of PS4 games, only a handful had issues with the PS4 Pro's approach.
Oh, wow. So it wasn't a big problem.
Not really. So they didn't need to worry as much about it with the PS5 Pro.
That's good news for anyone who wants to play their old PS4 games.
Exactly.
But what about those rare cases where timing is super critical?
Like rhythm games or something?
Yeah. Are there any games that might still have issues?
Well, Fitzgerald actually shared a really cool story about this. When they were developing Spider-Man 2, they actually had to make some adjustments to how water reflections were handled.
Really? Even with the extra power?
Yeah, to ensure smooth performance.
Wow, so what do they have to change?
They had to make the water reflections less divergent.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, it refers to how the rays of light are calculated in ray tracing.
Okay.
If the rays are too spread out, it can put a strain on the hardware.
Gotcha, and slow things down.
Right.
So they had to kind of tweak how the reflections were calculated.
So the PS5 Pro could handle them without sacrificing that smooth gameplay.
That's a pretty clever workaround.
It is, and it shows how developers are adapting to these new technologies and finding ways to get the most out of them.
But it also highlights the fact that even with all this power, there are still challenges,
There are always challenges.
And it sounds like those challenges extend to path tracing, too.
Oh, yeah, path tracing.
That even more advanced form of ray tracing.
Right. It simulates light in a truly realistic way.
Did Cerny have anything to say about that?
He admitted that path tracing would be very tricky to implement on the PS5 Pro.
Okay.
Given its current hardware.
So no path tracing then?
Well, he didn't rule it out completely.
Oh, so there's still hope.
He said he wouldn't put it past developers to find creative solutions.
Knowing game developers, they probably will.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see some form of path tracing on the PS5 Pro in the future.
It's amazing to think how far gaming technology has come.
It really is.
And it's clear that this is just the beginning.
We're just getting started.
So as we start to wrap up our deep dive into the PS5 Pro, what are the key takeaways here?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that this console is much more than just a mid-generation refresh.
Okay.
It's a statement about the future of gaming.
It's a bold statement.
And it's a testament to the power of collaboration and innovation.
We've seen how PSSR is revolutionizing upscaling, how machine learning is becoming more integrated into game development.
And how Sony is partnering with AMD to push the boundaries.
Yeah, and it sounds like the PS5 Pro isn't just about 4K and better frame rates.
Right, it's about the bigger picture.
It's about creating more immersive, more engaging, and more realistic game worlds.
And giving developers the tools to bring their visions to life.
In ways we never thought possible.
Yeah, the PS5 Pro is blurring the line between reality and imagination.
It is, and that's incredibly exciting.
It really is.
But before we sign off, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought.
Ooh, I love these.
Considering how challenging PSSR was to develop and how it's already exceeding expectations,
Right.
what kind of breakthroughs in gaming visuals might we see in the next 5 to 10 years?
As machine learning matures.
What do you think?
That is a fantastic question. It's almost impossible to predict with certainty.
Yeah.
But if we look at the trajectory of this technology, the possibilities are mind-boggling.
We could see games that are virtually indistinguishable from reality.
We could see games that adapt to our emotions and preferences in real time.
Imagine a world where games can generate entire worlds on the fly.
Tailored specifically to you?
That would be incredible.
The line between player and game could become even more blurred.
We might interact with game characters as if they were real people.
And experience stories that are uniquely crafted just for us.
It's a future overflowing with potential.
It's an exciting time to be a gamer.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the PS5 Pro. It's been a fascinating deep dive.
I know, it really has.
I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Yeah, me too.
It feels like we just scratched the surface of what the PS5 Pro can do. You know?
It's true. There's so much more to explore.
And as always, you can find links to all the source materials in the show notes.
So you can dive even deeper if you want.
So go forth and dive deeper into the world of the PS5 Pro.
Yeah! Happy gaming, everyone!
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.
Yes.